I think this Houston team, as long as it's not a very quick whistle, which could hurt us, I think this Houston team overpowers this Duke team, maybe a little bit like we saw last year in the second round with Tennessee.
You are looking live at VSiN Prime Time. Live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, here's Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel.
Late night on Friday, we've got Houston versus Duke. Are people in on the Dukies after disposing of the Dukes? They were very impressive on Sunday. I was on the wrong side of that. I got a little infatuated by the James Madison performance against Wisconsin, and right out of the chute, Duke dominated that game. They threw it into Filipowski, kicked it back out to McCain, bang for three, and they were off and running. A couple early fouls on James Madison. Yeah, they got the friendly whistle early on, but it didn't matter. Duke was the far superior team in that game, absolutely dominated James Madison. On the flip side, Houston, two out of the last three games. Get blown out by Iowa State in the Big 12 championship. Okay, you beat Longwood by 40. Congratulations. And then you almost saw a double-digit lead in the final 90 seconds disappear. Now, they held on for dear life, and they were able to beat Texas A&M. Is that Houston being exposed, or was that their scare that they were able to overcome? Texas A&M was dreadful from the free throw line, so you could say that they were incredibly fortunate. That's fair. I think this is a very tricky matchup for Duke. We've seen Duke play physical teams before, and it doesn't end all that well. Also, Duke, who has been playing much better defensively, they're a top 20 team in defensive efficiency, so that is worth noting. I think this Houston team, as long as it's not a very quick whistle, which could hurt us, I think this Houston team overpowers this Duke team, maybe a little bit like we saw last year in the second round with Tennessee. And I thought this note was interesting. Now, this is a big sample size. Maybe it's cherry picking because I'm betting Houston. But when Duke has been the higher seeded team, so the team with the bigger number, like they are here, they're the 4, Houston is the 1, this courtesy of Evan Abrams. They are 0-4, 0-5 straight up, 0-5 ATS. That goes all the way back to 1994 because it never happens. So I think this is a bad matchup for Duke. The one thing that certainly is working in Duke's favor is that Houston doesn't want to run, right? They're a slower tempo team, JVT. So North Carolina, we saw, ran kind of Duke out of the building both times they played as they beat them both times. I just think this is a tricky matchup. And I also believe you're getting a little bit Duke high, Houston low maybe, and you're getting that love in there. I know there are people at the network who like Duke. I get it. I think the great shooting is going to fall off a little bit when you're facing a elite defensive team like Houston. I'm going to take the Cougars here. I'm going to lay the 4 in this spot against Duke.
I would agree, and I think a lot is being made of the performance against Texas A&M. Texas A&M, you can make the argument, is a team that was kind of constructed to give a team like Houston trouble. Houston statistically is not a great defensive rebounding team. They're actually 273rd in the country. Texas A&M is one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country when you look at their ability to generate second chance opportunities, and I think actually led the country at this point in offensive rebounding rate. Right? So it was a match made in heaven that Texas A&M was going to be a problem for this team. And I get their 16 seeds, but these games are being played. Houston looked every bit the part of Houston against Longwood. Absolutely just decimated that team. There's still the makings of this squad here. And I like how we just remember what we saw last. We keep bringing up the loss to Iowa State. We keep bringing up, of course, the struggling performance against Texas A&M. Last time we checked, Iowa State's a 2 seed in this tournament and could be on the verge of going to an Elite 8. It's a pretty good club. There's no shame in going 2-1. So I would agree with you. I don't think that Duke is this tenacious offensive rebounding team that's going to exploit one of the biggest weaknesses that Houston has.
And Houston did have a double-digit lead with 90 seconds to go. Now, you got to play 40 minutes, and they didn't close the door. So could that be an issue? That certainly is worth keeping an eye on.